Please welcome into the show. That's America's accountant, Dan Geltrude. Dan, I know you don't have the total same thoughts I do, but I think I could sum it up with what I just said there in that monologue. It's a lot easier to fire somebody you've never seen before than it is to fire somebody that gets there before you and leaves after. What do you say?
I agree with that, Scott. Look, I don't disagree with the points that you're making. However, I think there's some things that we need to consider here. First of all, I think that the future is going to be some type of hybrid model. I know what Jamie Dimon is saying. I know what a lot of people are saying. I understand your points. But I just think post-pandemic, the world has changed probably forever. Now, look, my personal preference is to go to the office every day. And I think that's perhaps a little bit old school because, Scott, if I'm home all day long trying to work, you know where I am? I'm in the kitchen eating or I'm watching TV. So too many distractions for me. However, this generation is a little bit different. They seem to be comfortable with isolation. Why? Because when people like you and I growing up were out interacting and playing football and baseball or whatever, these kids were home doing this, right? Playing on a computer. So that's their world. So I think we have to accept to some degree that that's how it's going to be for them.
Okay, your point is taken, but my retort would be this. I think that those formative years of the first 2 or 3 years you're in the office, when the guy that's 30 or 40 years old gets to be your mentor and you get to see how he does things, that mentorship goes out the window if you're not there at the office collaborating, right? It does start to hurt spontaneity, and it does start to hurt, in my mind, creativity. And that's what I think is lost. Now, I can't remember if it was either Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, but one of those two tech icons said this while they were asked this question around the year 2000 during the last internet boom we had about what would be the most valuable tool in the year 2025. And whomever was asked the question answered it like this: face-to-face communication. They felt as though that slowly but surely that would be degraded over time. And boy, oh boy, we're 2 years out from that prediction. And I think whomever said it, between Gates or Steve Jobs, I think they're right.
Yes. Look at it this way, Scott. Although, again, I think there's good points on both sides of this argument. But again, you and I have to kind of look at how this next generation is thinking. Even if people are in close physical proximity to each other, they still don't talk to each other. They're texting or messaging. So that is just the way that they communicate. And I think that there's a significant generation gap in how perhaps people like you and I want to be in the office and want to do things that way. And this younger generation doesn't think it's necessary. However, one thing I will say, training these young people, extremely difficult to do that remotely. So the one thing I would say is that people who are younger in their career, what you said about getting in early, leaving later, getting the training, having a mentor with you physically, those things are invaluable. However, I think as people get more experience, the remote work model can work.
Maybe it's because I hope you're wrong, but I think that, I had a boss when I got sent to London when I was 23 years old for the first time. He gave me extra cash in my pay packet from Chicago so that I could socialize with the people, get to know them after work hours, right? Those types of things, although you can't really put your hands around it, are very, very important, right? We have about 20 seconds. What would you say to something like that? The socializing thing is also important.
I agree with you, but Scott, remember when we were young, how perhaps our parents were limiting our time watching television, go read a book instead. How many young people are even reading books anymore? So all I'm saying to you, Scott, is the world has changed, my friend.
All right, okay. All I'm saying to you is you need to socialize some more. That's what